welcome to the Pitch of Discontent. Owen back again for another guest episode, joined in the studio with Sam. Hello.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. What's going on?
Just traveling up, up to Coburg from Brunswick, and
long journey.
That's it, man.
How was the commute?
Mate, it was a breeze, and might have something to do with the public holiday, but
Indeed. It's like 37 degrees outside. I felt bad making you travel in this
man.
in this heat.
An excuse to jump in the car with the aircon is much appreciated. But no, it's a nice spot, man.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming through. This is something that we were talking about off mic, but something that I've wanted to hook up for a while because you put out a record last year, which we will get into in lots of detail, but there was a lot of stuff for the record. You did a lot of pods, and I didn't want to cloud the air with me yucking it up while everyone else had their opportunity. So now we've given it a bit of time. I feel like we can finally get you in and we can have the chat.
Yeah, awesome. Well, like I said, man, I'm stoked to be here, and it's like you said, high time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So before we get into any of the details, what's your week been like? What have you been up to?
Oh man, the week, like we were just saying before we started, both got young baby girls at home.
Dad life chat was had for sure.
Yeah, and so whenever someone says, "Oh, how's your week been?" you sort of have this moment of like, "Wow, what have I done?"
Do they really care about the detail?
The baby brain. It's like, what did I do? Like, but no. Me and my wife laid low for the long weekend. We actually went away last weekend. We've been threatening each other with we're gonna go camping, right? We're gonna go camping with the bub, but every time we've made plans, we've chickened out at the last minute.
Yeah,
we went to Warburton when we stayed in a cabin. So I
mean that's a good compromise. I feel
it is, but it's not camping. We've got friends who have bit the bullet and gone camping with a 1.5-year-old. And it's all good. You just got to do it.
Rip the Band-Aid off a bit.
Like with everything with your first baby, everything's new. But it's just we chickened out, mate. So that was the previous weekend. During the week, it was just work and dad life and bit of band stuff. And a chill weekend, and now I'm here. So really, no complaints.
Love to hear it. We were kind of chatting over email when we were like hooking this up, but I was explaining to you that over the Christmas period, Paige and I took Audrey, our baby, up to Queensland, and we had to do the drive.
Right. Yeah.
And talk about like biting the bullet and ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Like, we were definitely like, should we do it? Can we do it?
Yeah.
Why are we doing it? And it was rough.
Yeah, if you had told me before you went, I would have said no, don't do that. Yeah. I was just whinging about how one night of camping would be in Victoria. I would not have. Me and my wife would not have bundled our baby up. You said 2 months?
She was 2 months old.
Bro. How did it go?
Honestly, she was pretty sick.
Right,
she
an angel.
Yeah, like you don't want to leave him in the car seat for too long. So
that's it.
Lots of pauses, lots of stops. Which she kind of did anyway because, she's pooping, feeding, whatever. So, like, that's fine. And we just took it slow. So we did it over, like, 4 or 5 days.
Right.
Broke it up into chunks.
Yeah.
Made sure. And we had, like, Reese the dog with us as well. Mate, so
just to keep things interesting.
Just to keep things interesting. So, look, I wouldn't do it again in a heartbeat.
But you got her to see your family, I guess. So,
yes. Yeah, exactly.
So me and my wife are fortunate. Both of us, we got our family in Victoria. So it'd be a different kettle of fish if... Like know a lot of people, being in music and the arts, that aren't from Melbourne and have moved here, and I'm always kind of blown away with like, how they get on without their immediate family close by. I feel very lucky.
It's like a catch-22. Like, I
gotcha.
kind of like having the distance and the remove from family for a number of reasons. That can be quite nice.
No, trust me, I can appreciate that. Yeah, but
then you have a newborn baby, and you're like, oh man, it would be sick to have grandma and granddad here to just like give us a spell for a night, and not have it be a whole thing of trying to get them down here. Where do they stay for how long? So yeah, look, she was fun. It was a decent enough trip. We ripped the Band-Aid off, so feeling good for it.
Good to hear.
Let's stop talking about our kids, because we could do an entire pod.
Absolutely.
Just on dad life.
Anyone who knows me is like, here he goes. He won't shut up. Yeah.
Speaking of ripping the Band-Aid off, you started off 2026 in extraordinary fashion. You had a New Year's Day show, one for the books, playing with Turnstile and Basement.
Yeah, man.
It looked insane. I wasn't there. I was still on the road coming back from said trip. But I've seen the footage. It looked fucking crazy. Yeah. So talk to me about that. What was that like?
Yeah, man. It was like everything you've seen and heard. It was that. It was incredible, man. A bit of a dream for us. It's like I was explaining to someone either at the show or just afterwards about, saying, look, we toured with Turnstile sort of when they were just getting going. Yeah. In the States around 2014.
Okay.
And out of the gate they were like
non-stop feeling album tour.
Before then it was Step to Rhythm 7-inch. So they've been going. So they started, they were the sickest band on the planet sort of thing, so they definitely had that energy then. And like, it's crazy, what they've done since then.
I remember when they were the TUI side project. And now they're just like, zoop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I guess the show on New Year's Day just kind of like hammered home doesn't even kind of describe it. It was just
real quick, biggest Iron Mine show to date?
Yeah, by orders of magnitude.
Okay.
We were talking about that because before then, because listen, no one's keeping a journal of like audience attendances, but we were speculating that like probably around 2000, like one of the hardcores from back in the day in Sydney at the Hi-Fi, I think would have been the biggest, and so played plenty around that size. But this was, I think, ended up being like 6,000 people. Like I'd never even heard of Pika until we got asked to play the show.
We went to like a festival thing they had there with like Coheed and Cambria and like a bunch of like prog rocky kind of bands. And I'd never been there before because it's in like that weird kind of like wharfy industrial kind of area.
Port Melbourne. So it's around. This is funny. Like it's around the corner from the Globe Skate Warehouse, which a lot of Melbourne hardcore alumni have gone through those doors. So I knew the area, and it's like, it's weird as. It's like, it's 100% industrial.
It's just like a big hangar. It's like you could park a fucking airplane in there.
Yeah. Huge. So who knows what was going on there before it became a music venue, but it was sick. And it was, to give you, I guess, to get into the details, it was like we rocked up and it was just like you said, it's an airplane hangar, but the stage, what's going on the stage is like, nothing we've ever been close to.
Stage production.
Real production. So we've never even sniffed anything like that. And Turnstile's team were like really, really cool, really friendly. But it was just like, I guess it was a little intimidating just because we're so used to like a hardcore show. We know what's going on. We know, very comfortable, in any kind of regular hardcore show setting. Sure. But this was setting up anyway, wasn't like that. But we had because when we were asked to play the show, it's like, just send us through like your working crew. And it's like, well, what's that? Like
is that the merch guy? Like what?
But so literally, we were like, all right, so for this show, we'll have a merch person because it's not like Stagel where you can just jump off stage and run over to the table after your set. It's not like if something goes wrong with an amp or the drums, it's not like we're going to ask the guys in Basement to just run on stage and help us mid-set. So we'll have, we'll have a quote, I'm doing air quotes, a guitar tech and a drum tech. We had our mates, Pat and Otis come and help for that.
Of course.
And we had Pablo and Mike there shooting photos. and which you might have seen some of the footage that they
insane.
captured. So we rock up and we got our boys with us, and it's just kind of like a great vibe, great feeling. You know, everyone's friendly. We're kind of there and just hanging out, and it just feels really good. The show itself, man, was just like the place was absolutely packed. You know, our set just because we weren't sure. Like we're like, look, we're gonna have fun. We're definitely gonna have fun. But you never know. And we're like, we know it's gonna be like because we've seen, you know, Speed just toured with Turnstile in the States, very similar kind of shows. And you've seen footage from those shows. It was like it's just a massive hardcore show.
Yeah.
So we knew that energy was going to be there, but like you never know. It like we're the opening band. Maybe people will just sort of stand there and kind of nod their head, and like that would have been fine. You know, we'll do our, like we've played plenty of shows like that. You know, especially back in the day. So we were prepared for anything, but. Honestly, man, like the show just went off. Like the crowd was
they looked like they were feeling it.
Yeah, feeling it, man.
Yeah.
And I explained to people, it was like looking out at the crowd. It was you could kind of split it into three sections. You had the young kids up the front who were there. You know, this is my spot, and I'm not moving until
I'm trying to get the barrier. Yeah,
I'm getting the barrier so that I can make sure I see turns. I'm right up the front for Turnstile, right? And these young kids, they'd probably never seen us before, but they had that energy of like, I'm here to have a really good time. And so they were screaming and cheering and going off, which I love that sort of thing. Then right behind them, you had an actual hardcore pit.
Yeah.
So right from we did the intro from our new record,
Incredible G-Up song.
Yeah, but we weren't sure, right? There was obviously some discussion. It's like, is this not the show to do that? Should we, you know, just kind of count in or shorten it or something? But we're like, nah, let's do it. Like this is what we do. We'll give everyone who's there the real thing.
Yeah.
Man,
the test.
Yeah, bro. We'll give them the test. Nice one. Yeah. And yeah, man. From when that started playing, the place it was just like we were playing at the art house or something. So
it's an incredible song to kick off the record, and I would imagine as like a live intro. Like if you've never heard that before, it's like hairs on the back of your neck type shit. And then if you've got proximity to that pit or proximity to the stage, like. You're definitely feeling like something's about to pop off, and that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like the vibe that we got from everyone who was behind that pit that opened up. It was just good energy, you know, and like you said, people there anticipating what was about to happen and what was going on, and yeah, man, our set went off. It was great. Like we honestly couldn't ask for anything more, you know. Lot of positive feedback from everyone, and and the main thing is we just had a great time. So that was, you know. Yeah, definitely afterwards we're like, definitely couldn't have asked for anything more than that. Basement killed it. Like that was my first time seeing them. I'm a fan. So it was cool to be able to, you know, stand, you know, sort of behind the stage and watch them.
And watch them rip, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw them at New Bloom last year.
Yeah.
And that was not at Pika, but the other venue that's like around the corner.
Melbourne Pavilion, I think.
Nah, the one that has like the... Fuck, what's it called? I can't remember.
Yeah,
it could be the Pavilion, but it's like around the corner in the same kind of
another
area.
big one.
Yeah, another big one, another big hangar.
Yeah,
and it was dope. Like they're really, really good. I've seen them a bunch of times. Stoked that they're still doing their thing and still kind of just like rocking it.
Cool guys, very friendly.
Yeah, lovely fellas.
Yeah, and again, like contributed to that like that really, really good energy that was there.
Yeah. One aspect that I wanted to touch on before we get into some of the Iron Mind stuff specifically is that, you know, like we kind of touched on with the origins of Turnstile being like, you know, from the Baltimore kind of like hardcore scene, the TUI connection and stuff. I think it's really cool to kind of see the trajectory that they've taken on the last few records, blowing up to crazy degrees, being able to reach a whole bunch of new people, completely different audiences, but still be plugged in and kind of tapped into like hardcore stuff. And I would imagine that playing with Speed, being friendly with those guys, they would kind of be able to lean on those connections to curate bands to open for this tour. Because I saw like Scram did the River Stage show in Brisbane, which is dope because those guys are like young as fuck. So being able to open a show like that is huge for them.
Yep.
Their demo fucking rocks. Like so good. But then having you guys on there, like Melbourne hardcore royalty, like it made a lot of sense, and it's cool that they can still kind of keep that connection to their roots, even if they're not a hardcore band by any kind of like strict definition anymore. They're doing way more shit.
Yeah, I mean, like that, and you hit the nail on the head, is because, and it is kind of crazy, but they're still just those guys. That band, they're still 100% just like those hardcore dudes. And it's no accident that like in every show that they played in Australia was like the most current, the most
because like the Chain did Perth as well. So like
Feel the Pain in Sydney.
There you go,
they got Primitive Blast to play that additional show.
Yeah, that's so sick.
Yeah, and that like what that was like that is totally something that they could just offload to like their management or an agency or whatever, but it's like no, they
don't have to do that.
They're across everything, but I also get the impression that like that's what they want.
Yeah, but that was going to be my point. Like they don't have to be doing that.
No.
They clearly want to.
Yeah,
and they have, they have those memories of like being a fucking up and coming hardcore band.
Yeah,
playing those floor shows, playing those shows to however many people. Like some people forget that. But I think they definitely haven't.
Absolutely not. And like I'll say, part of the reason why the show was so spectacular is because obviously they've got these like sort of stadium level rock songs happening now. We were talking about it afterwards, and like the way I sort of described it is like they've almost got like kind of three distinct sounds now. Like they've got that step to rhythm, that original sound that they sort of came out with.
Yeah.
They've got the kind of glow-on, more punker kind of sound, and then they've got that newer kind of I don't know. I'm not a guitarist, so I can never kind of properly describe sonically what's going on, but like the spangly kind of
the pretty stuff.
The pretty stuff, right? So their show, it's like seamless. Like it just flows from, and they played old stuff. They played stuff from Step to Rhythm. They played and it just flows. They played for like an hour and a half, and it felt like 20 minutes. That's
psycho.
Yeah, and it like it just felt like a big hardcore show, that is like the craziest thing to see. It's crazy to see 6,000 people just like going off to like hardcore songs.
That's so dope. And I'm very jealous that I missed it.
Yeah,
I mean, it looked incredible.
Yeah, I mean, family comes first. But it was a good show, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the crazy thing, is to see a hardcore band achieve that. And honestly, for me, man, it's just like it's inspiring. It's like I think Iron Mind has always been a band who it's like we're very much hardcore band by the sort of by the numbers. But like the things that inspire us, the things that like we bring into the band, it's like we're obviously we're five very creative people.
Yeah.
So we love seeing stuff like that. It's like, look, you can do this, you can do that, you can look what this band's doing. It's and it's almost like, it's those things on top of like the songs that you're playing, the notes that you're playing, the beats that you're playing. It's those extra things on top. It's like, it was just incredible to see live, man. It was, they haven't lost. Whatever made them cool, like on that tour that we played with them, in the States 10 years ago, whatever was making them cool back then, they haven't lost an ounce of that.
Yeah.
And they've taken it to where they've taken it. It really is incredible.
That's so sick.
There's no escape, we're trying to shape you. Good to shape. You're the best of the best in your prime. Power moves back and forth. Find your voice on the street. Don't take a backseat. It don't matter how. What should it show me?
Speaking of Test, let's talk about the most recent Iron Mind record, because there's a lot of stuff to dig into there. So the new record, Test of the Iron Mind, came out, I want to say midway through last year.
Yeah.
So we're about, 8 months out from release?
Yeah. About around 8 months, I think. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm sure that there was a hell of a prelude to it coming out as well. It was definitely like in development. You guys were kicking around ideas for a while, from what I gather. So
Yeah.
kind of, well, let's do like a year in review. Talk to me about like the build up to dropping that record, the response once it landed, and then kind of how it feels to be, touring again, playing new material and doing stuff after such a long absence.
Yeah. Yeah. So to back it up a little bit, and I mentioned this. It might have been with the boys, or it might have been in another podcast. But like, I think what's a little bit different about Iron Mind is like we never broke up. We never stopped playing. There was never. What happened was we just, like I just mentioned, touring in 2014. It was around after. It was like a year after that tour that we're like, we just have to sort of take a step back from the constant push and the constant prioritization of the band. We got other things, got other things to do. We've been doing the band for, at that point, like 8 years.
Yeah.
As it was like, it would have been fine and normal for a band like us to break up, but it's like, no, we don't want to break up. We just,
put it on the back burner for a little bit.
Yeah.
Prioritize some other things.
And so what we did instead is we just played like one show a year, like one Melbourne show a year, and it was sort of like, I mean, and at that time it was a privilege to sort of have that, be able to do that. Like not every band can do that, not every band can go, oh, look, we've done X, Y, and Z, and now we're just going to play one show and still have people turn up.
It's what I call the mind snare method.
Yeah.
Basically just like the band's never dead.
Yeah.
We can always rip a show when we want to and have it be a decent show.
Yeah.
But there's really no expectation from anyone that you're going to do anything. And when they drop a new record, they're just like, hey, here you go.
Yeah. But so on that point, right, that's mind snare, that's hardcore royalty. And at that time, we were not in that stratosphere. So it's like, we didn't know, like, if, we didn't know what was going to happen, basically. But it's like, no, we still want to play shows, even if we're just playing to, half a room full of our mates. So, like, we still want to do that. And that's what we did. And thankfully, Melbourne Hardcore has always shown us a lot of support. But what happened, writing definitely got on the back burner. But then what happened was during COVID, it was, a couple of members like sort of were having a tough time with like lockdown and isolation and that sort of thing.
Needed a project to pour themselves into.
Yeah. And so up until that point, writing for Iron Mind was always like very purposeful. It's like, we're going to write a record, we're going to release a record, and then we're going to tour and we're going to do it. We're going to do the thing. But then in this instance, it was like, listen, we haven't written for ages. Why don't we just write and just see what happens? And we don't have to, there's no pressure to do anything, which is a very new thing for us. And so that was, what was that? It was like 2020, 2021.
Yeah, wow.
Excuse me. And so that's when writing started, and it just sort of snowballed. It sort of, those first couple of riffs that were written, it's like, oh, this is pretty sick, and then it just went from there. And what happened was we were writing with the intent of like, we'll just keep going, and then once we've got, no, like I said, no rush, no deadlines, no pressure. Once we've got what we feel like is a great full length record, we'll release it. But then what happened was, and we said, well, we're never going to tour again. Like we've done that. We don't need to do that. We're just going to do like one-off shows here and there.
The studio album.
That's right.
Yeah. Unless
we get asked to tour with no warning, right? So
which did happen.
Exactly. So we've been asked multiple times over that period, and every time it had just not happened and just not followed through, And then we got asked again, and shout out to Maddo at Last Ride Records and Breno at Brick and Mortar. They're like, hey, we know that this has been thrown around a few times, but we're actually going to make it. We're pretty confident that we're going to be able to make it happen this time. Yeah. Would Iron Mind be able to do it? And we said, like we always said, like if we get offered to tour with no warning, that's the one tour that we'll do.
Yeah.
But at the time, we had a couple of we knew we had a few like 6 songs like in the chamber that we were saving and progressing towards a full length. But we thought, let's release a couple now. Excuse me, mate. Sorry.
No, you're all right.
Yeah. Let's pause writing. Let's release these 2 6 songs that we've got and just put out, just so we've got something, because we don't want to be, something that we've always felt is in this sort of strange period of like, you know, are we an older band or are we a current band or what are we? We definitely don't want to be a band that is taking opportunities from new bands, right? And for us, that like that sort of national support slot, that's a thing. Like that's what that's what we cut our teeth on, and so we don't want to now be taking those sort of slots from new bands and young bands and that sort of thing, especially if. Especially without new material, right?
Sure.
You know, if you got new material, that's a different story. And No Warning, it's like, well, that's our gig, that's our slot.
Yeah, like spiritually, it makes the most sense.
Yeah,
because like,
yeah,
in my mind, you guys have always been like the Australian No Warning.
Yeah,
so
I
like
mean, high praise, and I love hearing that. And man, if I had heard that when you know Iron Minds started, I would have, you know, my head would have exploded. But,
but no, like
that's what we were. That's what I was going for anyway.
It's the perfect kind of tour lineup because if you're a No Warning head, you're pretty much guaranteed to be an Iron Mind fan.
Yeah, there was definitely that kind of Venn diagram going on. So what we did was we stopped. We stopped writing in order to record and produce like that tape that we put out, and that was kind of like the start of like, all right, we got new material, and we're playing new material like on that tour, and those new songs like went off, and that tour was incredible. No Warning turned out to be a bunch of legends. Like we really had a great time. And so that's sort of been the story of like the last 5-6 years is like, it's just been sort of, well, let's just do what's fun.
Yeah.
Right. Let's do what we want to do and, you know, no pressure and let's just see what it turns into. And it's just kind of been like one thing after another that's just been kind of great experience after great experience. That's like, that led us to, you know, we finished that tour and it's like, well, you know, we released new music. We did that No Warning tour. Do we want to keep?
Yeah, what's next?
Yeah.
Does this feel good? Should we keep it going?
Yeah, not what's next. Like at that stage, it wasn't like, well, you know, what's next? Give me more. We're just gonna, you know, it was very much like, hey, we're 5 mates that we're at a stage of our lives where, you know, we're very fortunate to still be able to do this band. It's like it's quite rare for a hardcore band to sort of still be going this long. In Australia, it's quite rare to sort of just have that sustained kind of interest and just to have people kind of care what you're doing. And then for us as mates is, you know, it's always, look, doing a band is difficult, you know. And so back in the day, it's like we were never a band that had like big fights or big blow ups or anything like that. You know, we've always had like really consistent kind of lineup. But
which is rare too.
Yeah. But this time around, it's like we're all definitely enjoying the band more than we ever have. It's probably partly like as you get older, you become more grateful, and, you know, and you got a bit more perspective, and you're like, actually, I'm really lucky to get to do this, and I'm lucky to have these mates, and you know, when you're younger, you probably take your band members for granted a little bit. So we're on this spot of like we don't want to do too much and spoil what we got going on. So it's very much like tentative steps in terms of what are we doing next? How does everyone feel? We don't have to do anything we don't want to do. Everyone's got to say. There's no like push to like we got to do this and we got to do that. And so, like I said, it was just kind of like incremental steps. It's like we finished that No Warning tour and just kept writing. And that turned into sort of what became the record. Yeah.
I was listening to the interview that you did with Aaron and Solo from Oblivious Maximus. Shout out to the boys. And in that chat, you mentioned that like we don't want to do a new record unless it's the best Iron Mind record. So I think like it's interesting to hear you talk about how like the progression to where the band is now in firing things up again was very like incremental and gradual. Do you think that lack of kind of like big expectations or any kind of like defined goal allowed you guys to kind of cook that material to the point where it just naturally became the best material? Because I'll say, hands down, the best Iron Mind record from front to back. Like the whole thing fucking rips. There's no fat on it whatsoever. So like to hear that mindset I think is really interesting.
Well, first, appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I agree. It's definitely our best record. The whole band feels that way. It's an interesting question because I am kind of contradicting myself when I say, when we started writing, we said no pressure and like, let's just have fun. Let's just, it's more about enjoying ourselves and like appreciating each other's company and all that, which it all very much was. But hanging over that was like, unanimous sentiment that like, we're not putting out some weak sauce, It does have to be our best record. I think partly we were saying that because we knew we had this record in us. In that interim, none of us have stopped. We're all always very involved in hardcore. We've never stopped consuming hardcore, never stopped, sort of paying attention and coming up with ideas, and the guys with their instruments have all done other bands and just sharpened their tools. I think it was just like, no, we know we can
rip another record.
Yeah, and we know that it can be our best. So it was kind of like this little bit of like chicken or the egg kind of push and pull of like, we're writing, we're feeling good. How does it sound? Yeah, it sounds pretty good. What do you reckon? Like, and there was kind of like a tipping point where it's like, yeah, this is fucking sick. Let's go. And there was, I will say, there was a point where it did stop being like, we're just having fun and just like, getting pizza and playing some riffs to like, no, we're doing this. This is going to be our sickest record. So let's kind of like lock in.
Yeah.
I will say the writing period, we approached it completely differently. I mentioned this on Oblivious Maximus as well. It's like we just, in the past, again, it was just when we were younger, it was just ignorance, like just not knowing, different ways that you can approach writing and recording. And so, and shout out to Akira, member of Iron Mind. He was sort of, when he joined, he's been playing with us for like, 10 years now. But when he came on, quote unquote, as a permanent member, he sort of looked at how we wrote the original stuff, and he was kind of like shocked. He was like, "What are you talking about?" It's like we never used to use computers or anything. We just get in the jam room, record it on our phone, and sort of remember what we'd done from the previous week.
The old school method.
Very old school and very And he was like, "No, you like." You don't have to do that. You can just like get together in someone's living room and plug it into the computer and test stuff and go home and play around with it. And so that's what we did. And so I would say that, the writing period we all enjoyed more than we had in the past. And that kind of fueled what we were doing.
Yeah. Interesting.
And that kind of, I would say it's a combination of that, a combination of like, look, we're all hardworking people. And so when you got that combination of like, hey, we want to work hard on this, but we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
It kind of is like that positive reinforcement that just kind of pushes you further and further and further. And that's just kind of what happened. And I think again, it was like, from my perspective, and maybe you talk to the other guys and they'll give you a different kind of perspective from like from a guitar point of view or a drums point of view. But for me, it was like that, having just like 10 years of refining your palette of like what makes a great hardcore record and being better able to articulate that in the writing process. Cause none of it's funny because it's like, none of it is like, it's all just Iron Mind and it's just like,
it's like distilled.
Yeah.
Like all of those pieces are there, but they're just like refined and distilled to like the absolute essence of what needs to be on that record.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's no fat. Like it's all just like so lean. It just rips from track to track.
Yeah, cheers, man. And I mentioned this again on Oblivious Maximus, but a lot of that is thanks to our friend Otis, Otis Benny, who came up. We brought him on as producer. That was another thing back in the day. We didn't know that you were able to do that.
Solitary realm, no higher place than where I dwell. My blood, a separate jail. Right now I can't keep living, I'm living hell. My blood, a separate jail. With my mind behind these eyes, it's like a
mentioned on the Oblivious Maximus chat that you were kind of considering tapping one of the guys in No Warning to maybe come in, and which is like the traditional kind of thing, I guess, is like to go to one of your influences or someone who has like that higher caliber of experience and production. Not to say that Otis is like a weird choice, but he's certainly like much closer to you guys.
Yeah.
But still, obviously, like was able to give you that outsider perspective and be able to, again, refine the material in the ways that a producer should.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, there's two things there is like Otis is actually like extremely talented at this role. He's just a very unassuming, he doesn't, he's not walking around with a business card saying Otis Benny, executive producer. Yeah. With a little hat and, but he is very, very good at it. I personally think he should be doing it more. But talking, we initially like touching on like everything about this record started off as incremental.
Yeah.
The idea of like working with a producer was incremental. It was kind of like we're on tour with No Warning.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, Ben does production and like I'm pretty sure it was Akira. It was like, it's like, well, we could just talk to him, It didn't go from like we're writing a record, let's get in an executive producer for an entire, it was like, oh, well, we could just talk to Ben. We could just show Ben a couple of the songs and just see what he thinks. You know, it started there. It didn't work out with Ben because he's like literally a child of the world. Like he's like in a different continent every, so it didn't work out. But like that seed was planted, and we're like, oh well, who else could we work with? You know, and then again, Akira said, well, Otis actually does this sort of thing, and really what it comes down to is like the producer or the person in question knowing the band, knowing the goal, like what do you guys want to get out of this record, and then like having that ear, having that knowing what to say and when, and again with like Otis, he's very like he's familiar to the band. He's our friend. He's a great guy. We all really respect him, and so that helped him to be able to say to cut through and say, nah, this bit isn't working, like I think you should do X, Y, and Z, or like try this, or leave it with me. Let me come up with some suggestions, and we'll come back and we'll revisit it. Whereas someone we didn't know, or someone who was sort of perhaps, maybe Ben wouldn't have been the right fit because maybe we all idolize him too much.
Yeah, exactly.
And so maybe we wouldn't have been able to sort of
push back if you needed to, or really kind of like come to the table with the things that you wanted.
Yeah. But Otis is like on the other hand, like there's maybe someone out there who, was too sort of soft, and like that didn't give us the confidence in what they were saying was like the right solution, But Otis was like that perfect, that just perfect pitch, and I think I mentioned this before, but he added to that great experience of the writing, like that excitement of like looking forward to getting together because what's Otis done with this song, or like what are we going to come up with this week?
Well, it's not just a job for him. You know what I mean? Like
no, absolutely not.
It's like being part of the creative process, being part of the team.
Yeah, and creating something and like expressing yourself, and I guess. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but, as a creative person myself, I think it's like that feeling of like, using your creative skills in a way that's clearly adding value to something, that is very, very satisfying, it's not, so I maybe you should get Otis on here,
Sure.
and
get Otis on the pod.
Yeah, but, I wonder. I've never asked him directly, but I wonder. It's like, you ask any creative person. It's like, what motivates you to work? Because it's like, you work tirelessly on something like that, and he certainly did.
Yeah.
He certainly wasn't like, oh no, I just finished. Just do whatever, and then it's done. It's like I
mean, it comes through on the record. Like there's a lot of passion behind the record, and I think everyone involved. I can't speak to everyone, but I would imagine that everyone involved was really kind of fired up and fucking with the record and kind of vibing what was happening. And that's that all comes through
Yeah.
sonically. You were talking about the creative process, and that's something that we were talking over email, kind of like figuring out what we were going to talk about on the pod. So I want to kind of give you some space to talk about that now, because like you've kind of mentioned a couple of times, like, oh, I'm not really an instrumental person, like I can't really speak to like the guitar tones or whatever, but you are a creative in terms of like visual art, and you, I would imagine, had a lot of input into the look and feel of the record in terms of packaging and artwork and direction and everything. So like talk to me about that. Like how do you bring your creative passions outside of Iron Mind into Iron Mind?
Yeah, or on that, like what you were just mentioning about like everyone involved with the record was like super fired up and super passionate. Like that was absolutely true with like everyone who worked on the record, but everyone who worked on the visuals with the record, with this record specifically. We got I mean, he's one of my best mates. We grew up together, Pat Fox, who
Incredible artist.
Yeah, so you're familiar, incredible artist. And he essentially he was like the producer, like the art producer.
Yeah.
He took our direction. Like the idea for the record cover was actually Dan, the bass player of Iron Mind's idea, and he brought it to us around that time around the time of that No Warning tour when we were making that tape. He was like, oh, I'd love to see something with like it's the Far East Atlas is like the famous statue. I'd like to see something with the Far East Atlas with the snake in the globe. And I was like, oh, dude, that is a sick idea. So sick. That's an album cover. That's not a tape cover. You know what I mean? And so we sort of shelved it. And I knew, and so everyone in Iron Mind has a lot of input, and everyone in Iron Mind does a lot for the band. Like Josh does like all the merch, all the design. I historically have had a lot of, I guess you could say, like creative direction, or sort of pointed things in this way and that. The earlier LPs I did the covers, but for this record it was very much like everyone getting in on it. And when Dan first came up with that idea, in my head I was like, that has to be achieved with 3D, but not like. And so I don't want to get too in the weeds, but like the creative process in my mind, it was like not like 3D where it's like, hey, look, this is 3D, like this is computer graphics, or this is, it's like, no, it needs to be achieved in 3D so it looks kind of real, but like, and it has that gravitas, it has that, and the part of the brief I gave to Pat was like, it has to look like a 90s Roadrunner, New York heavy, like Type of Negative, Biohazard, something like that. It has to have that that look.
Earth Crisis, Slither. Is like what we're going for.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. Like people are mixed feelings about that record, but
I know. I still think the art direction is sick.
I actually think the record's kind of cool, but like that's just me. But Pat was like, but the challenging thing was, I mean, I talked to Pat initially. I was like, what about, there's this guy that did some 3D work for The Artist Murder, like, trying to explain to Pat, like, this is the kind of, he was like, yeah, that guy's probably going to charge you $30,000. Yep. So I was like, well, forget that then. But Pat, like I said, he's a super talented artist, like responsible for so many like incredible record covers. He's also just an incredible operator. Like he really is on top of everything. And so he was like, listen, like we had a shoestring budget. He pretty much did it for next to nothing.
Mates rates. Gotta love it.
Yeah, like I'm talking best mates rates, But he was like, nah, like I wanna help with this. And like this is sick, and I see what you're saying, and like let's do it, know. And he like, but he's not a 3D artist. He was like, I'll find someone, and so he found a 3D artist, Jake Thomas, who built the 3D model, and then Pat sort of finished the visuals. Yep. It's like a lot of those high-end 3D artists, they won't let you work, like they won't let someone else
like manipulate it.
Yeah. Which like that was I spoke to a couple initially saying that because that was going to be a money saver for us. It was like, oh, we've got my friend is going to do the layout.
Yeah.
We just need the 3D model. Can you do and like the really good guys are like, no, sorry, I don't. And I, as an artist myself, I totally understand. Like as soon as I got that reply, I was like, oh, of course, that makes sense. So anyway, long story short, Pat basically just did it, so that like idea that we had, he like perfectly captured it. And yeah, man, I'm so stoked with the result. Like I get chills thinking about like when Pat first showed me like because you don't know like with 3D and like if it goes bad, it goes real bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I had sort of backups. It's like, if it doesn't work, Also, I sometimes feel it like I can be in the band. I can be a little like controlling's not the right word, but like someone could sort of say I'm a little control. It's like if I got an idea and I want to see it at least attempted.
Yes.
Right. But then that comes with pressure. If it sucks.
Yeah.
That you're gonna have to explain to the band, the rest of the guys.
You've committed time and resources, and that becomes a discussion. So
So I had backups. Turns out I had nothing to worry about because
it looks sick.
A better job couldn't have been done. He totally nailed the brief, and because every band wants like an iconic album cover, and it's like I don't think it's too sort of I don't think I'm out of line by saying we're at least in the running for that. You know what I mean? It'll be the test of time. Test of time, whether how people sort of view the record in years to come. But I'm more than stoked with it. And to give Pat and Jake their flowers, it's like they just did such a good job. There was so much bits and pieces that I like hadn't considered, and Pat as like someone who's like this is his job, like he was just so good at dealing with, I get a little stressed out with like long email chains with like lots of people in there, and Pat just had it, man.
Shout out to Pat.
So and so that again, that's just like another thing that like made like making this record so like we knew we had this record in us, like from every aspect of it, not just the sound, not just the this and the that. It was like everything.
From can you see the blind with the blind? Too many left behind. We've all got our demons inside, so no one gets out alive. Dust of the iron line, running through time. Put to the test of the iron line. The world does not survive.
The word that I keep coming back to in my mind is like cohesive, and like you can see this, and I see it a lot of times with different bands and different rollouts where like sometimes the art direction doesn't quite match the thematic intent of the record or how the record sounds, or like the band will market themselves one way but then kind of like play differently against that or whatever. And like some of that can be intentional, but a lot of the time I think it's dissonant in terms of people not really conceptualizing like everything has to be plugged in for it to all work cohesively. And I'm sure you get this like being a creative and working on artistic pieces from beginning to end. Like you want to make sure that what you start with fits with what you end with. But I don't think there's any of that issue with this record. Like everything fits. Like the sonic stuff rips, your lyrics are fantastic, the vocal performance rules, like all of it is so dialed in. And then like when you see that record cover, you know that it's going to be a hard record. And then it delivers on that and exceeds those expectations. And I remember the first time I played it, like on the week of release, I was just kind of like, fuck, this rips. I was just like, I can't believe that they've like, because there was a lot of anticipation and expectation of like, oh, Iron Mind's back. They got a new record. Like, is it going to be sick? And it was. But then to like exceed that expectation is exactly what you want. You want to be able to just like punch above what everyone's expecting you to do. I want to kind of talk about the reception of the record kind of in context with 2025 in general, just because we've had different guests on the show. the most kind of prominent being Jem from Speed, like way back in the day. He was one of the first ever guests on the show. And he was kind of talking about how Speed was kind of formed with this desire to kind of like reignite the fire in Australian hardcore during that COVID period, which they've certainly achieved and done that. But like you fast forward to now and you see bands like Iron Mind, No Apologies.
Yep.
We had Pete on the show last year to talk about their new record.
Yep.
Fucking rips. Best No Apologies record. We had Dave from 50 Lions on here. Their new record rips. Like all of these like legacy bands.
Yep.
I'm not sure if
if
you like that label, but you're definitely a legacy band in my mind. And like to have bands of that caliber come back with career best records at the same time that there's a whole crop of young bands coming through with really sick records, bringing back older sounds and kind of just doing their own thing with their own style and flavor. What's it like to drop your best record at a time when Australian hardcore is arguably like at one of its best ever peaks?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's so many sort of different threads you can pull on that. First of all, the reception to the record's been amazing, and like we didn't know, we when we created the record, personally for ourselves, it was like we've done it. This is our best. This is the best record we could have made. Like this is the best record we've made and that we could make.
Yeah, that was the brief.
We nailed the brief. How people receive it is not up to us, which is a kind of a perspective that you really can only have with time, with maturity. When you're younger, you just kind of don't think like that. But the response was people feel about it like how we felt. People received it how we saw it, which is it's a great feeling. It's sort of validation is not the right word, but it's just like being in sync. We're in sync. It's
exactly.
like we feel like how we feel about it is how everyone feels about it. And I also think that speaks a little bit to like you said, where hardcore is worldwide at the moment. I feel like the environment is much more positive and much more kind of people are more open to being positive about things and enthusiastic about things, which like hardcore hasn't always been like that. Certainly where Iron Mind started from was very much a different kind of culture, I think, of just different. People weren't so quick to sort of say what they liked or didn't like, and a bit quicker to kind of say something wasn't good or whatever. Which is fine. That's sort of thickened our skin back in the day. But the response that we've gotten has been incredible. On the topic of the bands like our peers like No Apologies and 50 Lions. It's interesting because like Iron Mind, like I said, Iron Mind is a little bit different because we started looking up to those bands. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I always talk about bands like 50 Lions, Miles Away, No Apologies. They're the bands that made us start a band. And those bands got to experience that first golden age of Australian hardcore, like the early to mid 2000s when hardcore was absolutely pumping. Iron Mind was born on the tail end of that. So we started as that was trickling off. Yeah. So we never got to experience that sort of what we're experiencing now, that energy of record attendance, record enthusiasm, so much going on, the feeling of there's all these different, opportunities and things that you can do. Iron Mind, we're sort of in the middle of that. But what I think is because reflecting on it, No Apologies, 50 Lions, they're our boys. I think that bands like us and them, we're still around doing it because as you get older, it's when you're younger, you sort of take it for granted that you can do a band with your mates, that the shows are always going to be sick, you know, and whatever. And when it, you know, when it trails off or whatever, and it takes a back seat, it's like, yeah, that's just how it goes. But as you get older, and you know, like touching on becoming parents and that sort of thing, it makes you reflect and go, hey, I actually can't do this forever.
No.
You know, for a number of reasons. Like hardcore is super physical, a super energy demanding genre of music. It has to be played live. It has to be played intensely. Like you can't like do an acoustic set. You know what I mean? And so I mean, I feel it. It's like you can't. I'm not going to be able to do this forever.
No.
Right? And then also as you get older, you know, you realize it's like, you know, these are my brothers. I love these guys, you know. And when you're younger, you take your friends for granted a lot more, I think.
Yeah,
you know. And as you get older, you're like, you've got more things get in the way of five guys being able to get together to even just to jam.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you find yourself today, you know, having a platform, having the ability to get together with your mates, write music, release records, and play shows, you're gonna take that opportunity, because it's like you might not, you know,
Might not get it again.
You might not get it again. So
yeah, when I had Pete on the show for that No Apologies record, like he said pretty much the exact same thing. He was like, "Look, it's been ages since we put out a record." He's like, "More than likely, I didn't think we were gonna do another one." He's like, "But when the pieces," and again, it was very incremental in conversation with him, like getting the people together to write that record, hearing that material, and being like, "This is actually dope. We need to put this out. Let's make sure that it's the best possible thing that we can do, because we don't know when we're going to get another chance to do it." And you know, like I just think that's the best kind of like mindset and place to come from, is like this shit could all go away in an instant. And I think COVID and 2020 in particular definitely kind of made people more aware of that than I think they had been previously.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that period, I mean, broke people's brains in a lot of ways.
It still has broken people's brains for
right.
sure.
But in one way, it was like, you know, holy shit, like, I'm not going to take X, Y, and Z for granted.
No, it's such an important thing for people, you know, like being a part of hardcore, contributing to live music, and like those scenes can evaporate overnight.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, like those material forces at play are completely out of your control.
Yeah.
Like venues get shut down, you lose spaces.
Yeah.
There goes the place where your scene congregates or your community. And I mean, like that is not necessarily in control of individuals. Like you just kind of have to take advantage of it while it's there.
Yeah. And again, I think that's definitely what you just described is what's happening now, is like, the hardcore scene has never been better, you know? And so, you know, in that environment, you're going to be motivated to take part in it. Another in terms of how Test of the Iron Mind has been received, and like an interesting sort of like reflection on what we're talking about, is like Iron Mind, like we look at our like the hardcore scene or our audience or the people that come to an Iron Mind show, and we realize now it's like being, like you said, a legacy band or at least an older band, is at an Iron Mind show you've got people who were there with us when we started, the guys from back in the day who are our age, who again they still love coming to hardcore shows. Maybe they're not moshing, maybe they're up the back, you know,
like me, been a mosh retirement for fucking way too long.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in mosh retirement. There's what we realize now is, I mean, Iron Mind's a funny band because I think we just have had a timeline completely different from every other band. But you know, when we after we released our first LP, you know, and I've spoken about this before. You know, and we released that LP and we played some shows and was sort of feeling like, oh well, maybe we'll hang it up now. We'll just do one more tour. Like we finally got an offer to do an international, like I said, that coveted international support slot, which we'd been scratching and clawing for 7-8 years. We finally got that in that first tour with Backtrack. we did that tour thinking, oh, we'll probably just call it a day after this tour because, it will most likely just be how every other sort of Iron Mind show is gone.
Yeah.
And we've done it and that's all good. And then we played that, we did that tour and every show, it was like a bomb went off. It's like every show, one after the other. And I think this is in like 2013. One show after another was our best show that we'd ever played. And what we realized was, that's just how long it took for that next generation of kids
to
come through who'd grown up on our record.
Yep.
Not our mates who saw us as just like just another band that started while they were into hardcore.
Yeah.
It's like that next crop of kids and hardcore, that's what hardcore is. It's an unbroken chain of kids coming up.
You were there like miles away, or you were there
Exactly.
50 Lines or whatever, like the band that got them into hardcore.
Yeah. That they're crazy about.
The Gateway band.
The Gateway. So we had that back then with those kids, right?
Yeah.
And then today, there's OGs that are there.
Yeah.
Those kids from 2013 are there. And now we've got the young kids from today who are there. And it's this really interesting mix.
Generational cycles of hardcore.
Yeah. And what's great is like they're all loving the new record, you know, to the point where, because normally what happens with a band like us, it's like, those old your old hits are the ones that they just stay hits forever, you know? But what we're noticing is that like the newer songs are going off even harder than the old songs.
Yeah.
And I wonder, and like I don't know, I'm just sort of thinking out loud, but I wonder if it's just because, hardcore shows are being better attended than ever, and there's just and bands like Speed, bands like Turnstile are bringing so many more kids to shows that like, and we've been around so long that kids are like they're getting into Iron Mind because of Test of the Iron Mind. And they're not necessarily, they weren't there for like the older records, so they're not that fussed about them,
Everyone jumped on every crooked rule for my time, let it fall. No shortcuts taken, any question now, there's no debating. No favor is sought, no handouts required. Everything settled, every goal acquired. I'm a fucking bad breed. You won't ever beat me, 'cause everyone jumped on.
To kind of jump off that, I would imagine it's because the mode of consumption for music has changed. So like in your 2013 period, that's still like very early streaming.
Yeah, dude.
Not
It's iPods,
it's not like ubiquitous streaming
Absolutely
where
not,
there's
no.
like 5 different streaming options, and there isn't really the huge push where the main focus is on streaming. You've still very much got like physical record sales, different kinds of media and stuff. Whereas I think now like it's very much like put your shit on DSPs.
Yeah.
That's where the focus goes. If you've got money and you've got time, you can maybe do a vinyl. You can maybe do like a physical media. Maybe you do a CD because it's like old format or whatever. But like, I think for the kids, and like, I'm in my fucking late 30s. I won't speak for the kids, but I would imagine that because they have access to so much music all the time, there isn't as much of a push to like be as well read on the history of particular bands.
Yeah.
There's no need to like, well, if I'm going to go to hardcore, I need to know like all of the Iron Mind records.
Yeah.
I need to go back and like do my homework. I feel like now it's just kind of like, no, I'll just go because I like that one record, or I've heard that one song, or I've had that one single pop up in my feed and that was dope. I've got that one mate who's going to the show, so I'll go. So like, I just think that like level of like historical knowledge is no longer really like the given. Whereas like when I started going to shows in the mid 2000s, it was very much like
you got to know.
You got to know, and if you don't, like you'll get called a fucking New Jack or a poser or whatever. So like,
mate, don't get me started. So like I love that because for us, oh man, so many threads to pull, but like 100%. And you describing that kid who's like, oh, I just heard that. I saw that one clip on YouTube. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna go.
I heard that one TikTok. I'm going.
Give us more of that. We want more kids like that at shows because they're the ones who are having fun. they're like, we've played enough shows to the 7 dudes who like have a encyclopedic knowledge of new
You have
hardcore.
every test press and,
Dude,
and 7 inches. Like,
you know what I mean? No, yeah, like the dudes who have the encyclopedic knowledge of Iron Man, we love you guys. It's it's like you were just mentioning. It's like back in the day, it was like if you don't know X, Y, and Z, it's hard. It's that thing of gatekeeping, and is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah.
Gatekeeping can make subcultures special. A lack of gatekeeping, does that dilute things? Look, at our stage, we just want to see more kids having fun at shows.
Sure.
It's like for Iron Mind, the goal of Iron Mind is to get as many people to a show moshing as possible. That's it. There's no other goal.
Yeah.
So if Spotify gets our stuff out to more kids who want to mosh, if there's a mosh algorithm, we're all about the mosh algorithm. But you're right. Back in the day, it was different. Like, to touch back on like the release of this record and like how things have changed back between our last release and this one. Like, Spotify is a completely new thing.
Yeah.
And so that was eye opening in terms of like just what's involved. Like to really do it properly, which is what we wanted to do. Like talking about, and I appreciate you noticing like everything sort of fitting together and looking a certain way. Like with everything with this record, we were like, we want to do it properly. Like, so, and it just, everything, like I said, incremental, and it just, things kept popping up. It's like, well, what do bands do these days? Or apparently they do this. Do you guys want to do that? It's like, yeah, let's do it. Just to jump quickly back on art and on the creative side of the rollout, it was like, we got to do a couple of film clips. So shout out our friends, Pablo and Rudsy, and Tomo, who help with those, and like that. But it's crazy, like what goes into a release these days compared to back in the day. I love it, like, and we all love it being a creative band, and people, like I said, who love that aspect of hardcore is like that opportunity to do something creative, and to me, like, hardcore is like, sure, there's the very sort of fundamental building blocks of like, this kind of riff or that kind of beat or breakdown or whatever. But to me, hardcore is like, it's like those extra things that you layer on. And for us, it's like all these, the album cover, the merch, the videos, it's all opportunities to add what we love about hardcore on top of it. So,
well, it's an extension of that sense of community, right?
Yeah.
Because you have friends who can do the videography stuff, that can do a clip that isn't just 5 guys in a jam room. You know, you can do something.
Which we did. So like,
no shade to that.
We did it in a cool way. No, we totally know what you're talking about.
That's a hardcore staple. No shade.
Yeah, but we had to do it. We did it in a cool way. It's funny because we had that conversation. It's like we can't just be in a jam room. It's got to have
some kind of hook to it.
Yeah. Which like, to shout them out, it's like Rudsy and Pablo and Tomo. They came up with this. I mean, I don't know that they invented it themselves, but it's like they're such A players. This is the other thing. It's like back in the day, it's like maybe your mate had a camcorder and could shoot you, but it's like, I mean, I think it speaks to the kind of people we are and the band that we are. But we've been doing it so long. We have a community of people around us who are creative, who are hardworking, who are at the top of their game.
Like Pat wanting to help out with the art direction and stuff. Like,
exactly,
you've got your team.
Yeah,
and I'm sure with like the Spotify stuff and the digital stuff and streaming, like, you've got Maddo at Last Ride, you've got Ricky at Flatspot, like
Absolutely.
you've got people who are plugged in to know, like, well, this is the shit that you need to do to be current. This is what if you're gonna do it right, here are the things that you need to do. Like, you don't need to necessarily figure all that shit out for yourself. You've got your team.
Yeah, and like, I gotta say, it's like we're not like entitled to that team. You know what I mean? It's like we're very fortunate. Look, I think it speaks to the fact that we've always operated in, like, we've always been very honest and earnest, and like we're passionate about what we do. We've always, like, as a hardcore band, we we've done it because we love it. And when you love something, it's like you just naturally make friends with people who also love it. And we've been doing it long enough that, we with this record, we found ourselves in a spot where, we've got almost 20 years of doing this band, of building a community around us that now wants to help, because we certainly didn't have the budget,
Take advantage of those mates rates.
Yeah. But like, mates rates or not, it's like, I think being a creative person, it's like you can't just pay someone to do an amazing job. It's like they've got to be invested. They've got to be invested in it, and that's what I talking about the team, talking about Maddo, talking about Ricky. It's like they didn't have to put out this record. They didn't have to help us with all this stuff. They did it because they love Iron Mind. They love us as people.
There's no way they heard that record and were like, "Nah, I'm not going to put it out."
No, but like, definitely. Yeah, look, who knows? My main point is, it's like, that's really what makes, talking about the reception, talking about how we feel as people, as a band, and why we're, looking at doing more stuff. It's like, that's why you do it. You do it, because like these are your mates. You get to do cool stuff with your mates. And I feel particularly, we all feel this way, but I feel particularly blessed to still have this opportunity and to be in this era where like I get to do this kind of stuff with my friends and do the best work of my, of my life, I get to, it's a very good feeling. And I, like, if you didn't have that feeling, I don't think you'd still do it, whether it doesn't matter how many kids are coming to the show. If you weren't getting that kind of satisfaction out of it, and if you weren't doing it with your mates, with people like Pat, like Rudsy, like Pablo, and then getting them to bring them to the Turnstile show, and then seeing Rudsy at Flatspot World, and that is what makes it sick, and that's what makes someone in my 40s like so fortunate to still be able to do it.
Yeah, for sure. You speak of the other stuff that's coming up, and I'm conscious of time, so let's kind of wrap up the main chat. Let's talk about 2026. So when this comes out, you guys will already be on tour doing more shows. Talk to me about the summer run.
Yeah. So if my maths is correct, we played Stay Gold last night.
I'm sure it was dope.
Yeah, me
Went
too.
Off.
Me too. But no, we thought at the end of last year, we're like, well, what just on that, like, sort of how we're approaching doing more stuff as a band. It's like we're all super busy with our lives, with family, with work, with travel. It is like one thing that we can't do is like one thing that we don't have is tons of time, and so we can't just like do everything, and we can't just go like 2013. We're putting every spare minute and spare dollar into the band.
Yeah.
Can't do that today. So it's kind of like things are flipped. We've got no time, but we've got all this opportunity.
Yes.
And back then, nothing but time, no opportunity. But having said that, we're trying to be like really particular with what we do to kind of get the most out of it. And so, just in terms of everyone's schedule, we're like, come January, February, we should play a few shows around Australia, just because like it'll be sick and everyone will be able to do it around there. So booked it ourselves. And we hitting a couple of spots that we weren't able to hit last year on the album release shows. So we're playing the Gold Coast.
I saw that, Vinny's Dive.
Yeah.
Great venue to play in. It's a little fucking shoebox.
Yeah. Sick venue. We played there with no warning. So it's like we wanted to get there last year, but it just didn't work out.
I've seen Speed there a bunch of times. Saw Scowl there. Incredible.
Yeah, it's going to be sick. And we're also going to get back to Canberra for the first time in like at least 10 years, I think.
Is it a house show, which seems to be the vibe for Canberra?
So not a house show. We're going to play the basso, but we're playing with Scorn are coming from Newcastle.
Sick.
Thantu Thicker are playing.
Great band.
And Orc, who are a newer band, but with Sam from I Exist and Slow Burn and all those guys. So that's going to be sick. But yeah, Melbourne last night with Scorn again, it's been great to be able to play more with them. We actually played with them the first time. Keep coming back to like that No Warning tour in Newcastle. I think their demo had just dropped at the time, and straight away it's just like, man, these guys are sick. And that's another thing about like what's so good about being an older band playing now is like there's just so many sick young bands to play with.
Yeah.
And Scorn are like right at the top of that list. Totally killing it. So to have them on a couple of shows has been really good. Had Implode and Shell Game last night, and then this tonight or whenever this episode comes out, we should be in Sydney if my memory serves me correct. That's with Feel the Pain, Bozo, and Honey.
Incredible.
Which at Bootleggers, which is a smaller venue. Like all these venues are a bit smaller, which we're super psyched on.
I mean, after the Turnstile show,
every venue's gonna be smaller.
Might as well switch it up and go micro.
That's it. But we are pumped for these shows because those record release shows were so great. And it was sort of splitting it up, over a couple of weekends. And then, my memory's blanking. I think, Canberra after Sydney. So Scorn again, like I just said, Scorn, Thentu, Thicker, and Orc. And then next weekend is it's Brisbane with Mud. I'm drawing a blank. Mud, I think. Forgive me. Neil,
I looked at the flyer like an hour ago, but I've also forgotten.
Yeah, forgive me. Neil does all the booking, so he's the guy with all the details. But then Gold Coast next night with Cold Blood, Blindside, and Death Proof.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really really good. Apologies, Brisbane. I'll remember.
I'm sure Burning Hammer have got it hooked up.
Yeah,
so.
no, for sure. That's at Black Bear Lodge in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And then, like
another tiny little shoebox venue.
Yeah, so can't wait. Going to be absolutely sick. Really looking forward to getting back up north for those.
Yeah,
it's going to be sick.
And then for the rest of the year, do you have anything in the works? We were kind of talking off mic. No new music, but you do have something in the works.
Yeah. So again, with when this episode drops, it might already be out. But we
can tease it here for the real heads.
Yeah, we'll tease it. We put together just a 7-inch for intro and more pain. So not new music, but like we were talking about off before we started. Something we always wanted to do was like a 7-inch single.
Yeah.
There was just a bit too much going on when the record dropped, but we just thought, it's like, well, like why not? Like why not do it just like 6 months later? And
it's such a hard segment of the record too.
Yeah.
So like kind of perfect for the 7-inch treatment too.
That's it. Josh, drummer Josh from Iron Mind did the art for the cover. There's a live track on side B. We're record nerds, so it's the exact sort of thing that we love, and we're just like, it's like for the collectors, you know what I mean? A super short pressing, just 150. So we'll have them with us on these shows.
Sick.
Little music video as well on the Flatspot YouTube channel that the band produced ourselves. Man. So. Again, it's just the sort of thing that like we love to do, and it's like we're at a stage with the band. It's like, well, why not? Let's just do what we sort of want. Just a little thing. In terms of what else we've got going on for the rest of the year, it's sort of like there's no breaking news or anything, but there are things being kicked around. It's like one of those, like I was saying, we're all busy. We've all got schedules that are sort of like it's tricky to line up.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to be doing more. It's the way I'd sort of describe it is like, we don't have tons of time to do everything. So when we do stuff, it's going to be sick. Like we want to do like really cool stuff that we haven't done before. And sort of just sort of see what happens. Again, it's like what's paramount is just like making sure that we all enjoy it, and it doesn't become like there's no pressure on anyone. You know what I mean? So with that, it sort of is like a bit of a balancing act, but we're for sure going to be doing other cool stuff.
I think it just comes to like you're in a fortunate position of like the scene is very healthy, the new record rules, so like you can be a little bit more discerning and being like, let's take this run. Maybe we're not going to play this particular show or whatever. Like, you're not trying to like grind away as hard. It's just
it's hard. It's a hard habit to get out of because it's like that's the band we were for 15, 16 years. Is we play every weekend. We play Melbourne every weekend. You know what I mean? And so like stuff comes up and we're like, oh, that would be sick. But then it's like, we
got to pick your battles
a little bit, and like again, it's like there's other bands should be playing. Like we shouldn't be taking the spot of other bands. And so that's again like why we did these headline shows. Like we probably could have waited and like just waited for like to jump on someone else's show or something like that. But we're like, no, we want to do these headline shows to create opportunities for smaller bands,
those younger bands, curate the lineups,
and create a vibe ourselves for other people to enjoy,
which I think is the move. I think that's definitely the go.
Yeah, like I said, it's like it's all new for us. So, but no, we're psyched, man. There's definitely cool stuff coming. It's just you're getting our head around how to sort of put it all together.
Yeah, dope. I will have links in the show description for tickets to the tour run. I'm sure small venues, so if you want to get to them. Don't fuck around. And I'm sure there's more coming for Iron Mind in 2026. But Sam, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
No worries.
Hello, Owen popping in to say, please sign up for the TPD Patreon. This is what helps us keep the lights on and keep the show going. The link is at the bottom of your screen right now, patreon.com/tpdpod. All of our patrons get exclusive access to Side B of our roundup episodes, so you get a few extra tracks, as well as our feature album discussion and the full show experience. Our patrons also get exclusive access to behind-the-scenes, off-the-cuff chit-chat from all of our guest episodes. But the patrons are the ones who make all of this happen. For as little as $5 a month, you can sign up to the TPD Patreon, and it really helps us out, really helps us keep the show going. So shout out to all of our patrons, shout out to our executive producer patrons, you're the real ones, and thank you so much for watching the show.